Hey, what's going on guys? It's FPL Yusuf here and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be bringing you guys my final team selection ahead of the game week 2 deadline. In this video we're going to cover a lot. We're going to cover what my team's currently looking like. We're going to answer some key questions around this game week. We'll also take a look at some stats for teams predicted to score goals, teams predicted to keep clean sheets, but also we'll take a little bit more of a deep dive into Defcon points and who is the ideal player to be targeting for this coming week for Defcon. So I do hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, please don't forget to drop a thumbs up and subscribe down below. Let's just jump straight into this. Okay, welcome back guys. Thank you so much for being here with me today on my YouTube channel for another video. So let's just jump straight into some key questions surrounding this coming game week first. There's a lot to talk about in this video, but we'll start off first with, I think, what is quite a big question, and that is Burnley assets. And should we be bench boosting this week? Now, before the start of the season started, I had a bench boost game week 2 planned in my mind. That was the idea that I was going with. I saw Burnley had Sunderland. Obviously, Bravka had gone to Burnley, so we have a 4 million playing goalkeeper now who did start in game week 1 as well. So we had a lot more information come out of game week 1, which sort of pushed, or at least was pushing me to bench boost game week 2. However, I just think for me, after what I saw from Burnley and also what I saw from Sunderland, I was a little bit more hesitant about doing it this week, especially with the double up of Burnley. Obviously, they've lost James Trafford, they lost Egan Riley in the summer, so those were two big parts of why they kept so many clean sheets last season. And it's not to say that they can't do it this season. I just think the way Sunderland started this game week 1 versus the way Burnley started game week 1 were complete opposites. And I don't know if putting all your eggs on a bench boost, for at least for a double bench boost for Burnley, is the right move. So for me personally, I'm not going to do it now. I'm going to just wait and, sort of accumulate team value down the line. When I wild card sort of later on, maybe around game week 10, game week 11, provided nothing goes wrong with the team, then I think I'll probably look to plan for a bench boost after that. But for the time being, I think for me personally, I'm staying off of the bench boost. If you already have the assets in there and you planned it and that's what you were going to do, I wouldn't let it put you off. Burnley could keep a clean sheet against Sunderland. I just think after seeing how Sunderland started the season and how Burnley started the season, it was a little bit of an iffy one. So for me, I'm going to say no. But if you have planned for it and your team set up for it, then, I can understand that. Okay, next we move on to Everton assets. Now, a lot of people are going to be owned in some way, shape or form, probably from a Tarkowski or Iliman Ndiaye. What do you do with them? They didn't look too good against Leeds on Monday Night Football. I think that was a game that, a lot of people would have thought Everton would have come out there with a clean sheet. So let's start with Tarkowski first. I think he's probably more of a justifiable hold than Iliman Ndiaye. The problem that I have with him is his price tag. I think 5.5 million is quite steep. Now, he did hit Defcons. Even though Everton lost, they conceded, so he lost the clean sheet. He did manage to get a Defcon, and I think that's the one thing we knew, that Tarkowski will rack up Defcons in a lot of games this season. So there will be times where Everton keep a clean sheet, he hits Defcons, he's going to get bonus points because Everton will probably only win 1-2-0 max. So there will be times that he will get monster hauls, but I think for the value that he's at, if he was at 5 million, I think it'd be a different story. But I think at 5.5, when you compare the likes of Pedro Porro, who just has more upside, he's on all set pieces. Even some of the Crystal Palace defenders who, 5 million, Lacroix, Gahey, Chris Richards, all at 4.5. And we're going to come on to Lacroix soon. I just think that there's better value for money out there. The Nottingham Forest defenders are all 5. You could jump up from 0.5 from Tarkowski to an Arsenal defender. So I think his price point is the biggest sticking point for me. Not so much Everton, because Everton will keep clean sheets. It was a disappointing game for them, but throughout the course of the season, they will rack up clean sheets. He will get big big hauls throughout the season, double-digit ones where he scores, he hits Defcon, or he hits Defcons, gets a clean sheet and bonus. So if you've got Tarkowski, I wouldn't be too worried about him. Iliman Ndiaye, on the other hand, I would be worried about. Now, I did say this in pre-season that I didn't understand why everyone was sort of flocking towards him. I know he's an okay price, and we think he's on penalties, but my question was, how many goals do you realistically expect Everton to score in a given game? 2 max, maybe? Maybe one or twice they might get 3 in a season, like in a game, but for the most part, it's probably going to be a 1 goal or no goals for them. So for me, Iliman Ndiaye just wasn't a pick. If you have got him, I would look to probably transition out of him to maybe a Tijani Reinders if you haven't got him. If you have got Tijani Reinders, there is a possibility that you could go down to Elliot Anderson and maybe free up money to move, defender up, or to, maybe incorporate a Salah and Haaland draft. That extra money could come in handy. But yeah, for me, I think Tarkowski's probably more of a hold than Iliman Ndiaye is. I would probably look to get rid of him. Like I said, I think there's a lot. I think there's certain midfielders around that 5.5 bracket which will be more value for money than Iliman Ndiaye would. Okay, and our last question is, should we swap Anderson for Tijani Reinders? Now, it's worth me saying, at the time of me recording this, Tijani Reinders had a price rise, so he's up to 5.6 now. So you would need to have 0.5 in the bank to make that swap. Is it worth moving one to the other? For the time being, I would say no. And I know it's easy for me to sit here with, I have Tijani Reinders in my team. If I didn't have Tijani Reinders, maybe I probably would be looking to do it. But I think Elliot Anderson will come good this season. Obviously he got an assist last game. He was 1 Defcon away from getting the extra points as well. So he got 6 points, could have been 8. If he got the 8, he might have got bonus as well. So on any other given day, that could have easily been a sort of 9, 10, and he could have been matching sort of Tijani Reinders' numbers. I think there's definitely an argument to own both of them. If you're looking to free up money to maybe put more money into the attack, or you're looking to go big at the back, and you need to downgrade a midfielder, Iliman Ndiaye, as we were just talking about, someone like that, then yeah, I definitely think that there's room to move him up. Like for me personally, I'm looking at moving Jorginho Ruta down to him at some point in the next coming weeks, but would I swap one for the other? Probably not right now. If Tijani Reinders plays, a sensational again this week, and we see him, come back with another big return against Tottenham, then I think, you're probably going to want to move him in. There is a possibility that he may rise again before we get to Friday's deadline, which will make him 5.7. So his price is starting to creep up very slowly. So just keep that in mind. You don't want to lose too much team value. But for the time being, I would say no, don't swap one for the other. But if Tijani Reinders does go again this week, then yes, I will be looking to make that move. Okay, so now we're going to come to some graphics, and the first one up is made by Rob T FPL. I'll leave a link to his X down in the description below. He makes some fantastic graphics every week. So we'll talk about some predicted goals, predicted clean sheets first, and Arsenal are leading the way with expected goals at 2.5. So that does beg the question when we come into the captaincy section, who should we be captain? So I think if you are on free hit this week, definitely have an Arsenal player in there. Bukayo Saka is the one I would be looking at. Gyökeres, if you've got him, obviously you're going to hold him like myself. Would I be going out to get him on a free hit? I probably would. I do think he's going to start. I think longer term, maybe there's a question about his minutes, competing with Havertz. That could become a problem. I think I probably will be looking to move him out after this game. But the plan was always just to own him for these 2 game weeks and then, look to disperse the money elsewhere. So for that reason, I would say if you're on a free hit, definitely get him in because, you're taking a gamble anyway. If you've got him, obviously you're going to keep him, look to the minutes afterwards. But I do think that Arsenal, will put up numbers against Leeds. So I would be on that. Obviously, an Arsenal defender is, really good. Again, they're top for goals, predicted goals scored, but they're also top for, predicted clean sheets as well, 46% for Arsenal. So you're nearly guaranteeing a 50-50 on clean sheets. So if you've got a Gabriel, a Saliba, fullback's a little bit more of a sticky one, but if you are, like I said, if you're on a free hit, definitely I would be looking to bring one of them in. Man City up next for predicted goals. Again, we're going to talk about Erling Haaland in the captaincy. Keep an eye out for them. I think the big problem with Man City is their rotation. Now, I do expect Haaland and Reinders to start. I think it's more the wingers that I'm a bit concerned about. So, obviously, some people owned Marmoush in the first week. Didn't really work out for them. Foden obviously wasn't playing. Shirky wasn't playing. So, I think the problem with trying to get a Man City asset in is that there's too many of them to know which one's going to start. And, with Pep Roulette, you just never know who's going to start, who's not going to start. So, for me, I think Haaland is a definite own. If you've got him, probably the number 1 captaincy, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Tijani Reinders, again, same thing. I do expect him to start. Man City have got a decent chance for a clean sheet as well. If you've got Aït-Nouri, again, you just hold him if you're looking to free hit. I personally would make the move there. Now, there is a thing about him playing left centre-back at the moment. Obviously, he's not getting as forward as what you'd expect. I think it's definitely game dependent. So I think if they're looking to go for more control, you see like what we saw last week where Rico Lewis sort of inverted into the middle. Aït-Nouri kind of played as a third centre-back. There is a debate about, when Guardiola's back, will Aït-Nouri play there? For me, we'll cross that bridge when we come to that. I just like the fact that he's there now. He does have attacking threat if he goes forward. Obviously, he's good for Defcon as we saw in the first game week, so he's more than fine. Chelsea and Liverpool, the other two who were just on this at 1.9, they're nearly expected 2 goals a game. We'll start with Chelsea first. Obviously, Cole Palmer is on very thin ice for me personally, as I'm sure he is for a lot of people. So we'll have to wait and see how he plays. Obviously, this left 10 role that he's got going on is not working at all. I want to see him more on the right-hand side where he can cut in on his left foot. So if he continues to play where he is in that first game week, he will be a quick sell for me after game week 3. João Pedro, again, same thing. A lot of people are going to be invested in him. Just hold him for now. Don't panic. Don't sell him. Obviously, Chelsea are predicted good goals against West Ham, who didn't look that good against Sunderland in that first week. So I do think that there could be goals in this game. Liverpool, same thing. Newcastle I think will be a little bit more of a difficult one out of all the teams we've just spoken about there. Obviously, if you've got the likes of Ekitike, Wirtz, Gakpo, Salah, you're just going to keep them. A lot of talk around Florian Wirtz. I think I don't know if he's dropped at this time when we record this video or he's predicted to drop. Don't sell him yet. Just hold on for a little bit because he didn't even play that bad. It's just he didn't make that final pass or he didn't get that final shot which led to a goal or an assist. But the returns will come with him. If they don't, then obviously, 100% we look to move him out. But I wouldn't be getting rid of any Liverpool assets before game week 4 and 5 where they play. I think it's Everton and Burnley or something like that. So, me personally, moving him out right now, it's not going to happen. We knew what their fixtures were going to be first. The first 3 were always going to be a difficult one. Obviously, it's a little bit disappointing that he didn't return against Bournemouth, but that's not to say he can't return against Arsenal in game week 3 or this week against Newcastle. So Liverpool assets I think are more than fine hold for this game week. Okay, then we come on to some Defcon players, and we've got a little graphic on screen now. This one's from Tom Hadley. I'll leave his link in the description down below for his X account as well. So make sure you give him a follow because his graphics are really, really nice. You know, they go quite in depth about Defcons, which is obviously a big part of the game this year. So as you can see on the list, we've got 1 to 10. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick 3 players who I think for this coming game week could be quite useful for a Defcon if you are on a free hit, or you know, maybe you're looking to make a transfer in this week. First one up is the guy who finished second, and that's Maxence Lacroix. 16 interceptions, tackles, all of that good stuff. We spoke about him in pre-season. We said that out of everyone in the Crystal Palace defence, I think he is worth the money. Obviously, he's coming in at 5 million, while you know Gahey and Chris Richards are 4.5. But as you can see from game week 1, he is worth it because he does pick up, you know, the extra tackles, the extra interceptions, the extra blocks. So for me at 5 million, I think he's a great price. Now you could like move from if you own a Pedro Porro. You know, I think Spurs' fixtures coming up, they're okay. I think Crystal Palace's fixture turn from game week 4. But if you are on a free hit this week, I wouldn't be opposed to look at him. Obviously, it's a difficult game against Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest obviously got off to a good start. Chris Wood as well. But I do think that Lacroix can rack up, you know, decent numbers in this game. But this is more for a long-term hold as well. Like I said, Palace's fixture turn from game week 4. So if you are bringing him in now, just look at him as he's an extra until game week 4 where he will become a regular. Next up is someone we've already spoken about, is Rayan Aït-Nouri. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about his minutes. Will he play? Won't he play? When Gvardiol comes back, what happens to him? I think it's all hearsay at this point. So we have to deal with what we've got. And 15 Defcons as he was playing left centre-back. Like I said, there will be times that he goes forward and he flies forward. He's high and wide on that left-hand side. I think when you see the likes of Foden, Marmoush, Shirky play, when they invert and they're more central, I think the fullbacks will provide the width. It just so happened last week, you know, Doku and Oscar Bob stayed really high and wide, which meant that, you know, we had Rico Lewis inverting to provide extra cover in the middle, and that means Aït-Nouri sort of drops back into a back 3. But obviously, even when he does do that, he's still getting Defcon. He got himself a bonus because of that, so he looks very good value for money. Like I said, I wouldn't worry about the minutes too much for him because he offers you both. If he plays the centre-back role, he's very good for Defcon as it seems. And obviously, if he goes forward, we all know what he can do going forward. So, yeah, for me, number 2 on my list, and also is a long-term hold as well. Last one up is actually the highest scorer from this week, and that is Daniel Ballard from Sunderland. He finished 8th on the list for Defcons last week. Obviously, got an insane return, hit the Defcons, got the clean sheet, scored a goal. If you are bringing him in, just bear in mind that's not going to happen every week. But I think if you started the season with him and you know you own him, I definitely think there's a viable option to play him this week. I think this game, I don't really think Burnley are going to offer too much going forward. So I think there's a high chance that Sunderland do keep a clean sheet. The question is whether or not Sunderland can score. So this could easily end in a 0-0, a 1-0 to Sunderland, a 2-0 to Sunderland, a 2-1 maybe. But I do like the odds of Daniel Ballard and his clean sheet. So yeah, if you've got him, obviously you know he's gone up in price as well. So I personally wouldn't be buying him because I do think that, you know, obviously he's not going to be getting those 17 pointers every week, but I think that there is a high chance that he could get a clean sheet this week. And obviously, with a clean sheet in this type of game, you'd imagine more often than not, Defcons will come with it as well. So those are my 3 picks. But obviously, there's the list on screen where you can see the top 10 from game week 1. Right, so let's talk about my team selection. So I'm not going to be making any transfers this week. The plan was always to roll the transfer, and we are going to do that. So we'll start off in goal. Robert Sanchez, obviously, is going to stay there. I see a little bit of debate about, you know, should you be starting Dubravka? For me personally, I'm picking the better keeper, quote unquote, because that can be debated, but the one who's playing for the better team. Now, fixtures are important in certain regards, but I don't think you overlook a team that's going to be pushing for, you know, Champions League spaces versus the team that's probably going to be fighting relegation. I think that's the one important thing to remember, is that if you're bench boosting, it doesn't really matter. But if you're looking to start a goalkeeper, I personally would choose the one with the better defence, who arguably has the better fixture. You know, Sunderland beat West Ham last week, so you'd imagine Chelsea would go there to do the same thing and hopefully keep a clean sheet. So Sanchez is my keeper. One change into the defence, Murillo continues to keep his place against Crystal Palace. Aït-Nouri will start for me against Tottenham. Joachim Andersen is coming in. Obviously, I've got Jed Spence on the bench. He's playing Man City at the Etihad, so I don't really fancy that because I do think Man City will score in that game. So I'm taking Joachim Andersen at home to Man United. That, again, before the season started, that was the plan, to rotate them to in the game week 2. There is potential for clean sheets here. I think these weeks are much harder than what we had last week. You know, Crystal Palace against Forest can be a tough game. Tottenham will cause Man City problems. Obviously, we saw the way they set up against PSG. And Thomas Frank in these sort of games, he goes 3 back, but it almost ends up being like a bit of a shootout, which I don't think Spurs will want because Man City will win that fight. So yeah, I'm hoping Aït-Nouri does play high and wide. They go for more central fielders, and hopefully, fingers crossed, he can get some attacking returns this week. And obviously, like I said, Joachim Andersen, it's a choice between him or Jed Spence, but you know, he's got the home fixture. I think Man United will cause less threat than Man City will cause to Tottenham. So that is my back line there. In the midfield, Tajani Reinders continues to keep his place. Again, I'm looking forward to seeing how he plays. A lot of people, you know, asking the question, was it just a one-off? Is he going to be fine for minutes? For me, I picked him at the start of the season, but one, because I thought he would be fine for minutes, but two, because I thought he would sort of get into the box, make those sort of late runs in there, and get on the end of some attack and return. So Johnny Randers is going to start. I have kept Florian Wirtz. I'm not one of the people who've sold him yet. Like I said, it's too early for that. It's just one game. No player is going to continue to keep returning throughout the whole season, regardless of who they are. So for me personally, I would just keep a hold of him for now. You know, like I said, Liverpool got a good game week 4, game week 5. After that, if we get to the end of game week 5 and we haven't seen, you know, a level of returns that is expected of him, then yes, 100% we look to sell. But for the time being, no, we're going to keep him. Cole Palmer, again, same thing. West Ham didn't get off to the good start. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, he can be a little bit more influential in this game. If we see the same thing as we saw last game, then I am sort of really worried about him, and I probably will end up looking to move him on in game week 4, because the plan is for me right now is to free hit in game week 3. So we'll have to wait and see on that, see how he plays. And the last one up is Jorginho Ruta. Everton, again, didn't really look like they got too involved in that game against Leeds, which is leaving me to good signs. Obviously, Everton are a good defence on their day, but I'm hoping Ruta will continue to start up front. Obviously, as we've seen, he's not on penalties, which is a little bit surprising. I think a lot of us thought going into the season that if Welbeck wasn't playing, he would be the guy to get it. But, you know, it's what it is. So we'll just leave him in there for now. And onto the forwards, we've got 3. And obviously, the big question is, who are we going to go captain? So Ekitike, we'll start with him first. He's fine against Newcastle. I was very impressed with him in the first game week, and I think Liverpool fans should be excited. You look like you've got a very good player there, someone who could score. Obviously, we saw he can make an assist as well. So, yeah, he's more than fine. It's between the two big men, Victor Gyökeres or Erling Haaland. Now, obviously, Gyökeres has got the fixture. Leeds at home at the Emirates is a fantastic fixture. Obviously, they're predicted the highest goals this week. The big thing with him is, what minutes is he going to get? Is he going to start? There's a lot of questions surrounding him, whereas Erling Haaland has got a little bit of a worse fixture, but you know what you're going to give him. He's going to play 90 minutes. He's guaranteed on penalties. And obviously, he's in such great form. And I do think he will get joy against Tottenham Hotspur. I know the way they defended against PSG, and, you know, they were resolute. They had the 3 back, you know, with the 2 wing backs. So they looked very secure. But I do think Man City will get chances in this game. Gyökeres, my big concern about him is, not that he's going to start, because I do think he will start. It's whether or not he's going to get past that hour mark. Will he play 70, 75 minutes this week? Are they just trying to build his stamina back up? It's a risk. Before the start of the season, the plan was always to captain Gyökeres in this game. Now, I'm not so sure. So for me, my captaincy choice is between Haaland or Gyökeres. I think I'm probably going to lean towards Haaland just to play it safe. Like I said, if Gyökeres does, you know, go big, at least I'll have him in my team. But I think in terms of safety, I think Gyökeres is just a bit of a risk right now. If you've got the likes of Salah, Ollie Watkins, you know, in your team, there's probably a little bit more up for debate. I still think Erling Haaland is the best captaincy choice for this week. I'd say number 2 is probably an Arsenal asset, either Salah or Gyökeres, Saka or Gyökeres, excuse me, depending on who you've got. Watkins and Salah as a toss-up between 3 and 4. I'd probably say Mo Salah 3, just because, you know, it's Mo Salah. Ollie Watkins in at 4 as well. So, you know, there are some decent captaincy options this week, but for me, Erling Haaland is that standout one. If you're looking to take a risk and, you know, for high upside, Arsenal assets are there. I just think that with the minutes wise, especially for Victor Gyökeres, not so much Bukayo Saka, but Victor Gyökeres is a little bit more of a problem. So I think for this week, we will be doing Erling Haaland. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please don't forget to drop a thumbs up and subscribe down below. If you guys got any questions about my team, about your team, about anything FPL related before we get to Friday's deadline, feel free to drop it in the comments down below, or follow me on X. You know, I will reply to every comment that is put down there. But I do hope you guys have a great game week. Hopefully you guys see this Thursday morning, I'm going to aim for. So fingers crossed it will be sort of a whole day before the deadline. So yeah, like I said, if you've got any sort of comments or anything you want to add to it, just feel free to leave it down below and I will get back to you. But as always, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support in the recent videos as well. You know, we've been getting a lot more subscribers recently, and, you know, the views have been doing well. So thank you all so much for that. If you haven't subscribed already though, please drop one down below. It really does help me out. And, you know, I'm just trying to make the content as best I can for you guys. So hopefully, fingers crossed, you know, this video was informative and has helped you in some way, shape or form. But thank you all so much for watching this video, and I'll catch you guys next time.